or his ruthless massacres of officers. 13 years after his death, this man continues to fascinate all of us. May I please request Mr. K.Vijay Kumar to share his own experience of Operation Kaplan with us.
Another decade, Amar, খুব বড় লেগেছে।
আমাদেরও খুব ভালো লেগেছে আপনার বাংলা শুনে।
Especially Bengal and Calcutta, the place of culture and a place for books. So when in typical Bengali humor, when I told my Bengali friend about this book, he said, "Is it Veerappan 2?" I said, "No, it's the same one." So before they asked, "Is Veerappan 3?" I'm very glad that Siddharth and Rajeev, you bailed me out, and happy that you have all responded to the friendly summons and bailable warrant to only bail me out. I am extremely pleased to be sitting next to the chief guest, Mr. Shyamal Datta, who has got at least 24 books inside him, but I don't know whether he will or whether he can or whether he has an inclination, but he has so much stuff. And next to him is the tiger of the woods or tiger of the willow. So the tiger and the jungle have got a special connect. He's the king of the offside. And even today, I just flipped on to the YouTube to see some of the sixes which went beyond the stadium. And I was inspired. Not that I'm a complete cricket buff, but people like him, Farouk engineered downwards to select some people. I'm an absolute fan. So because the BJP for being here and being an old well-wisher and friend, and Rajeev once again. So I mean, see, like there's a saying in Tamil and also Malayalam that even the ugliest crow looks at his baby crow bird and thinks it is the prettiest in town or the only one in town. So every author thinks his book is the only one. So a friend of mine, Arun, told me he used to walk into the bookshops and then finding his book in not even in the first 100, try to pluck it and put it back in the first 10, little realizing they have got their own reading. And by the time he comes back, the book will go back to even 150 or whatever. So with it, slight bias, if I start telling you this is a long journey and this is a brilliant book, it's like an onion, like Veerappan's character, which has got several layers. This book at several levels you can read it. One on leadership if you want. And that reminds me of a joke. One of the police officers, a very illustrious man and a good friend, came to National Police Academy and the lecture started like this. The day after retirement, I went into the bathroom and when I was about to have the bath and finished it, both the legs got into the same side of the pajama and they slipped and fell down. And for the first time looking at the ceiling, I got a perspective. I've got no team with me and none to play. That is a kind of, sometimes the leadership is good because these guys save you from all sorts of messy situations. But I had tremendous leaders below me and at different levels and I was more like a follower. And that seems to be exactly a quote of a very illustrious man, but I felt very humble when I had to go into the jungles. Jungles gives you a kind of an equalizer. You can't, like the bullets which go beyond ranks, rank line, jungles make you equal. You can't throw your weight wrong. So we used to say that you be a lizard when you are in lying a position. Many of your cops are extremely happy to be in your company and the non-cops also are most welcome. But cops will immediately understand what I am saying. In the LUP, be like a lizard which doesn't make any movement and suddenly at the appropriate time just puts out his tongue and then snaps away its prey. Or when you are going for a raid, be like a tiger. Tiger, if you watch in the last 1 kilometer, sometimes it takes 2 hours to go crawling. And finally when it pounces, it's with the most ferocious, thunderous kind of attack. So these 2 points of lizard and tiger, it sums up the entire tactics, which in other words we want to elaborate in the jungle manual. So it's a bit of a jungle manual. It's a bit of a jungle picnic. So you can take it at several layers. So with an author's bias, I'm apt enough, and I would like to stop at this point. And also this other axiom is small is beautiful. Small is certainly not beautiful because I realized to my agony that if you are troubled by what is called the ticks, ticks are small creatures which are invisible to human eye. On a dry leaf behind, 400 to 500 ticks can stay. That means it is so microscopically small. But if you are prone, my blood group was B+, I don't know how many of you got B+, but it was a hopeless blood group as far as I was concerned, because every time I got bitten by a tick, it was leaving terrible rashes, and the jungle life was not at all pleasant. But if you thought that small is not beautiful but big is, neither was. The elephants used to have a special fascination or special aptitude of chasing me and isolating me from my team. And I almost broke my bones, but I stayed on. So it is neither big nor small, it all depends on what travels is destined for you. Then, like they say, the tough, when the going gets tough, the tough gets going. In my case, the jungle made me more spiritual, because there is nothing at the end unless you make the God your main partner, the major shareholder. So in my case, it was the jungle made me the tough God praying, as they say. So what are the jungle rules? You don't stand out. If you stick out, you are in trouble, because you are likely to be picked up. Then the other important thing was intelligence. How important the role of intelligence in this. Like I have read somewhere, Genghis Khan, about whom you must have heard, even waited for 10 years for one piece of intelligence before attacking one country. We didn't have to wait for 10 years. We only did not be iconoclastic. That is, iconoclastic means breaking whatever has been done by somebody else, removing all the icons and damaging all the good work. I built on the brick laid by my predecessors, a legendary officer called Walter Isaac Veerappan and the Shankar Bidri from the state. There was one issue here. When Jharkhand and West Bengal work, or West Bengal and Orissa work, the joint operation doesn't come so easily, so fluidly, so spontaneously, so simply. So we had to labor, we had to put extra effort to make these two teams work. That was another important humbling lesson for me, that you have to work as a team. Then we had very interesting narrow escapes. I called it close shave, because as a policeman you've got a bias for shave. Unless you are clean shaven, you will not be considered to have turned out well. So there was an interesting episode in National Police Academy. I don't know if any one of you belong to that batch. When one of the officers came and tried whether you have shaved well, and he put his fingers and rubbed it against the shaven part, and the stubble will make noise like a velcro, and he said the shave is incorrect, go and shave again. And the entire batch went and shaved, including their head, and came back. This seems to have really happened somewhere. But in my case, when I mentioned close shaves, were narrow escapes that Veerappan had. On the same day, when he had come to eat what is called the Indian dosha, South Indian dosha, which is now a global kind of a brand, he narrowly escaped from Karnataka. Same day morning, he had a narrow escape when he was about to answer the call of nature. In another occasion, the helicopters chased him, but helicopters cannot see and penetrate beyond the foliage. He very narrowly escaped. There are 3-4 very narrow escapes, and very tragic what is called the friendly fire. When in the jungle, you can't see beyond a few meters. So what happened is also described. So like I said, like the crow I mentioned to you, right, I've been crowing enough about what is gone into the book. But the book would not have come but for the efforts of the editor. More than that, I am indebted to a friend of mine called Vikas Singh. He put these 1,000-odd pages of my loose notes, which I normally write like this in yellow pages, and try to condense it and help me condense it. Because I was very indolent, very, very lazy, and laid-back writer, though an okay reader. So he helped me, and his wife, brilliant lady called Sharwani, he said, your style is okay, everything is fine, but it's like more like a police diary. It's all in silos, bits and pieces, it happened and all. How do you link it up? So the link up came by the back and forth, because when I wrote it was in 2014, and the events happened in 2004. So that means 8-9 years have gone. So how do you get back the readers into it? I can't be a Dan Brown who within 24 hours jumps between Venice to, he goes to Iceland, and Iceland to Delhi and some other place. You can't be like Baldashi. You can't be like Lee Child. You can only Robert Ludlum. So you can only a humble so-and-so. So the style was altered to take you from 2001 to 2004 as a present, and dashing back from 1952 when he was born. Very interestingly, I do not know how many of you are interested in the esoteric subject called astrology or palmistry and so on. In this, there was a very interesting thing during intelligence operation. We grabbed a kundali, a chart, and that chart belonged to Kusa Munsami Veerappan. I don't want to lead you into a superstitious path, because you're all cops, and most of you are cops, and most of you are practical businessmen like you. But however, I was astonished to see what his chart, how it coincided, what really happened. So I leave it at that. That chart is also part of the book. So it's an onion, like an onion which has many layers, like the Veerappan's character which has got a lot of mysterious, a very mystical kind of angles to it. So this book can be looked at in a very pleasant as a thriller. more than anything else, I got the best note from some youngsters. And the youngster said, my mother has grabbed this book from me, she is reading it, I am annoyed. I said, go for the second book, man, let me sell more books now. Then, to my annoyance, he sent back the message, now I got the book back, now my granny has taken it. So I went and visited that family, because from the same family, 3 of them reading, and the author thinks that, okay, they are the dearest friends of mine. So I have become friends with these people. I hope to make more friends among this Calcutta crowd who are just before me. Thank you, sir, once again for coming. Thank you, Shaulji. Thank you, Purkayastha, Rajeev Kumar. And
thank you for that illustrious description. Sir, can I have you distribute the books to our guests of honor? We all deserve a copy. We'll all unveil the book now. This also calls for a nice photo opportunity. But then we'll have to stop the flashing. Veerappan chasing the Brigand. Can I have a round of applause, please? This is a piece of non-fiction, a real-time thriller. Not Robert Ludlum, not Dan Brown, but a real story. Non-fiction. It's that well written, is it? Inspector Vijay in real life. No, Amitabh Bachchan's name during 1970s was Vijay Kumar also. Okay, may I now request Mr. Shyamal Datta, who has been an IPS officer himself, sir, if you can kindly speak a few words. On your experiences, sir, you can go on. We'd all love to hear. I'm sure you have a lot of anecdotes to share.
Friends, it's a great occasion to be in a program like this, the book launch, and sharing the dais with the state leadership of the police for the first time in the last 39 years since I returned to the state. And I really feel very nostalgic about it. And another first thing that has happened today is I'm sitting next to the one and only Sourav Ganguly, which I could never imagine in my life a day would come when Sourav will be on my right side. I can take the liberty of calling him Sourav because he is very young. I'm really overwhelmed. Another thing that has happened today for the first time is, this is the first time I'm associating myself with the book launch of a dear friend of mine of long-standing years, the author of the book, Veerappan, Chasing the Brigand, Mr. K.Vijay Kumar. Now all these first things that have happened today, the one and only person who is responsible for it is the author himself. I do not know for what reasons and under what circumstances he thought of resurrecting an old man from the archive and putting on the stage. So Vijay, you have done me proud. Now, Vijay and I are known to each other for quite some time. The first time I met him, if my memory is not failing me, it was in 1989. At that time, my impression of Vijay, and today that impression has only embellished the first impression. And that impression was of a dashingly handsome, tough officer with no nonsense attitude. At that time, he happened to be Assistant Director of the Close Protection Detail in charge of Prime Minister Rajeev Gandhi's security. And I was then the station chief of the IB in Patna. Ever since then, we have been in touch with each other since 1989. Therefore, it has been a homecoming for me to associate with something that Vijay has done. Because at that point of time, I had neither inkling nor a glimpse of the fact that there is an author budding in Vijay. So Vijay has really transformed himself. He has evolved himself from a cop, a tough cop, to a person who wields a very powerful pen, and that is reflected in the book that has been launched today. Friends, I have always believed that there is a marked difference between a fiction and a non-fiction. And non-fiction challenges the author much more than a fiction. That is largely on account of the fact that when you write a non-fiction, you have to marshal and master a mine of information, facts and details. And you do not enjoy the same freedom and liberty, freedom of expression and liberty of thought to express things. And therefore I think what Vijay has done writing a non-fiction, he has done a very difficult task in a marvelous way. Now I have gone through the book, which I had sent me I think in the month of April or so, because this was due to be held at that time. What I liked about the book is that when you read the book, because I know Vijay, I see Vijay running through each and every page, leaving a stamp of penchant for details and expression, for providing a narrative on a large theatre of operation crisscrossing as many as 3 states in the country. And in doing so, Vijay has taken care of dealing with each and every individual who played a very major role on the theatre of operation. I am talking about the Veerappan side. And thereafter, Vijay has gone ahead to acknowledge and take into account heroic role played by some of his officers, including those who laid down their lives in the line of duty. Vijay, I have liked your lucid expression and a unique way of writing. When he's writing, I've seen that he has taken care of not only the details, but he has kept up in his mind the sequence of events and how to link the sequence of events without the reader finding it difficult to comprehend the whole subject. And in linking the sequence, he has done a marvelous job of connecting the pages, connecting the chapters. And one can get a feeling, if you give the book a reading in one go, you will find that there is an invisible thread that goes through the book in order to weave facts and figures and incidents into a wonderful tapestry which ultimately goes and captures the mind of the reader and gives him a good feeling. What comes out in bold relief from the book is that no operation is successful unless you provide a kind of a leadership. And at different levels, maybe at the level of a DYSP, maybe at the level of sub-inspector, and at the level of Vijay, as the supreme, not supreme commander, as the chief operation man to carry out that expedition to hunt down the dreaded Brigand, under the supreme command of another police legend, Dr. Davaram, Walter Davaram, who all through the operation, because the operation lasted for over a period of time, he stood like a rock of support, assistance, guidance and leadership. Friends, whenever you launch an operation in any part of the state or any part of the country, this book brings out what ultimately matters in the success of the operation is the support that you get from the political leadership. Vijay was very lucky that during the entire operation, I think there was no change in political leadership, and there was a supreme kind of support behind Vijay and Davaram to give him a free hand, having reposed all the confidence in the man, that let him go and try it out, and he prove that it was possible. Now when this operation was going on, just before that, I think yours was 2001. 2004. In 2001, how I feel very nostalgic about it. In 2001, one day Mr. Advani called me and said that, can I do something about this catching of the Veerappan? I said, sir, that's not our job, but since you have told me, let me apply my mind. I don't know whether Vijay is aware of it. So we decided, and at that time, Dr. Rajeev Kumar was the DGP Law and Order of Tamil Nadu. So we got in touch with Dr. Rajeev Kumar. And we carried out an intelligence operation, but we failed mainly because of the fact Veerappan got the scent of it, and he fled from the area. And we took adequate measures to ensure that he doesn't go and enter into another area. But ultimately, Vijay got him, and entire credit goes to him. I personally feel that this book should hold as a mirror to the police officers or to those who intend planning such kind of operation, because you have to bear in mind that today's Veerappans have changed. Today's Veerappans are no more in the jungle. They are in that society. And for such Veerappans, you have to think in a different way. Vijay was lucky in a sense that he was in a jungle, but when a Veerappan lives in a society with all the trappings of a civil life, it becomes difficult to get hold of them. Therefore, this book should hold out as a mirror as to know what all things go into designing an operation and executing it. What kind of pains are taken, what details you have to bear in mind. And I must say that if an operation lasts for nearly 2 years, 1.5 years. No, this operation. 10 months. So it's not a matter of joke to sustain an operation, touch and go, and ultimately you get the guy. So therefore, this operation, I really salute Vijay for doing a marvelous job and organizing an operation which is, I think, one of its kind. And therefore, time has come, in case you want to launch such an operation in a different environment, this book should stand out as a mirror and you should take a lesson from that. Lastly, I must expect that let this book be inspiration for Vijay himself. Let this book lay a foundation for many more books to come from Vijay. Vijay cannot stop at writing only Veerappan, because his way of writing and his treatment of a subject or the treatment of the language is so marvelous. We expect many more things, many more books to come from Vijay, and I personally feel in today's scenario, who knows Maoism better than Vijay? Therefore, Vijay is most well equipped and skilled to write a book of the subject of his choice, and I suggest Maoism as one for his kind consideration. Looking at the crowd and the audience here, I am 100% sure that this book will have a bumper harvest. With this hope, I wish Vijay all the very well and thank him very much for inviting me to this function and go back to my good old days of a corps life. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir, for your kind words. We would recommend a Veerappan Part 2, if we can. Be it catching a notorious bandit or winning a match, strategy is always king. Sourav, would you like to say a few words on that subject and the book?
Respected Shri Vijay Kumar ji, Shri Shyamal Datta, Shri Rajeev Kumar, very own, very dear Surajit Babu, and all of us and all of you from the police fraternity here. When I was young, my father used to say that you should be close to the police for the right reasons. And I think today I'm here for the right reason. My father's no more. I lost him 3 years ago. But over the years, during my tenure as a player, as a captain, and now a retired player, and now attached to a completely different job of running the sport. I realized what is the importance of police. So when Arunamai Babu called me a couple of days ago and said that you need to be here, I said I'll definitely be here. I see how the police work over the years in various parts of Kolkata. I don't have the privilege so much of seeing it so closely in other part of the country, but I see that in Kolkata, and I realize that we are safe and secure because of the efforts and the hard work you put in. This Veerappan story, I actually kept a track when I was playing. I think I was captain of India then. When this was going on, and we got the news from the newspapers that how the police are tracking him, and how ultimately they managed to shoot him. I did not imagine that someday I'll be sitting with the gentleman on my left, Mr. Kumar, and releasing a book on Veerappan. I must say I'm extremely not just honored, but delighted to be a part of this event, because Veerappan was a scary name in the society. Correct me if I'm wrong. Obviously, he reigned in Karnataka, in Bengal, Karnataka, Tamil Nadu, the southern belt of India, and he was a terror, as much as I understood from the newspaper. I was hearing about the narrow misses. I don't know why you want to lead a life where you're enjoying a dosa and you just narrowly miss dying, or when you're doing your daily work and you narrowly miss dying. I don't know what sort of a life was that, but then obviously a lot of people lead that kind of a life. I'm not a great reader because I read so much of papers and documents and affidavits that I get tired by the end of the day to read a book. But I think this is something which I will read. I'm not a great cricket book reader also. When I became captain, a lot of people used to ask me, have you read The Art of Captaincy of Mike Braley? Or have you read The Art of Captaincy of Sunil Gavaskar? I said, yes, only the front page. But this is something which I think I'm going to devote a little bit of time, because I think this is going to be something special. And I don't say this because I'm here releasing, and I don't say this because I'm with people who've actually made this thing happen. I think this is a learning for every one of us, to understand and increase the respect for people who keep us safe and sound in this society. I'm sure all of you must read it, and all of you will read it. I don't know about a Veerappan 2, because I don't know how far Mr. Kumar has got the patience to write a book, because recently I've been asked to write a book on mind games in sport. I was chased for a long time, but I'm not a great writer, and I've not even started thinking about my autobiography, because honestly, firstly, I don't have time, and secondly, not the patience to keep writing of what I've done for 15-20 years. But ultimately, I started it. It's a book on how players' mindset is important to develop the sport, and I found that pretty boring actually. To sit and write and dictate someone and then correct it and make sure that it's on time with the publishers, it's a nightmare. So I can imagine how hard it is completing one and starting the second. I wish this book all the best. I think it's going to be a big seller, because it's different. It's different, and it's something which all of us are aware of, and I think something which will force all of us to know a lot more, because this is different. I wish all the best. I thank Mr. Kumar for all his efforts for our society. Actually, all of us here, not just Mr. Kumar, all of us who are present on the stage on a personal capacity. A big thank you for everything you've done. I'm actually ignorant whether you still continue to serve the police or in whatever capacity you are. But whatever you do, my sincere wishes to you, and you have a great life. You still look very fit. Actually, all of you look very fit here, because that's a part of the job. The hardest thing in life is to stay fit after you finish your profession. But I hope you stay fit, I hope you stay healthy, and maybe at some stage serve the society for even better causes. Thank you so much. Thank you for inviting me here, and I really liked coming here. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sourav. We also would like to publish your book whenever you write your autobiography. Mr. Purkayastha, if I can please have you grace this occasion with a few words.
We have here with us Mr. Vijay Kumar, whose book is being launched today and who himself has been a legend in the police. In fact, we have many other legends, but one of the greatest legends of our country sitting beside me. Mr. Datta has been a legend also. He has made us proud on many occasions. He was here in our cadre, eventually became the governor. And of course, Rajeev, probably a legend in the making. So, I just wanted to say a couple of things. When a police officer writes a book, we have seen that there is a tendency to make himself a hero. But in this book, I find that there are many heroes. Mr. Vijay Kumar has written this book in such a manner that there are so many heroes in this book. And that is where his magnanimity lies. That is where his leadership lies. And I think that is the most important thing that we need at this point of time in our country, in our professions. Good leaders who are able to inspire others. And this book, even though it's a documentation, but it has all the qualities of a novel. And it keeps you captivated. I haven't read the full book, but whatever I have read, sir, it keeps you captivated. I'm sure I'll finish it in a couple of days more. And it has so many things which is a learning for the police. And it's learning for the police and probably a cause of inspiration and a curiosity for the people in general. It has things like espionage, informers, then it has got things like kidnapping, trappings, all kinds of things are there in this book. And how operation, as Mr. Datta has said, how our operation has to be launched. In a time when the technologies are not so advanced, at that point of time, now we have much better technologies. At that time it was not so much advanced. So many people have laid down their lives. But I think this book will be an inspiration for the police officers also. And I'm sure, sir, that this book in Kolkata, it will be a very popular book in course of time. Our book fair is coming in a very short time. I'm sure lots of people will be very interested in this book. And thank you once again, sir, for inviting us here. And thanks also to the story people for having such a beautiful this thing. All our officers have said they will take a lot of inspiration from you, sir. Thank you.
We've taken inspiration, the police has taken inspiration. This book truly has a lot to offer. Mr. Rajeev, if I can have you, sir, speak a few words.
I'll really speak few words. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, it's an honor to be associated with this book launch. I wish book the very best, and above all, wish all the very best to Mr. Kumar, whatever the life has to offer. He's such a legendary police officer, inspiration for all of us. I wish him all the very best in the life. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you so much, sir. Not just for the common public, but for everyone, I think. This
Out of turn, with your permission, I want to...
Sure, sir.
Individually, I would like to mentally shake hands with each one of you and thank you for your very warm presence, and to you people who are here. And very quick comments. Mr. Shyamal Datta, it's not like mutual, he has said so much good about me, therefore, not that on obligation or anything. I have seen him in SPG director, I have seen him as IB officer in Patna, I have seen him as DIB. Was one person whose hair was always in place and who had enough time for everybody and who looked absolutely relaxed and very clear on instructions. And the last day, somebody told me, insider told me, the day he was retiring, laying down his office, he was instructing at 3:30, 4 o'clock and saying, I want it get done by 3 days, 5 days and all. He was laying down the office that evening. That is the kind of man. And Sourav, I already told you, his rise and his peak, that sweet 16 years, somewhere between 92 and 2008, if I am not wrong, was exactly the coinciding with his peak time also.